Hi, I'm Laura Cloud and welcome to this edition of the Rutherford County Magazine. First, we'll meet with Rutherford County Director of Schools Harry Gill and Assistant Superintendent of Schools Gary Clardy about the schools being built here and how they will affect residents. Next, we'll talk with Mark King and his staff at the Community Care of Rutherford County about who they are, what they do, and what they provide for the citizens of Rutherford County. So sit back and join us for this edition of the Rutherford County Magazine. I'm here at the new Oakland Middle School, one of two new middle schools being built here in Rutherford County. This one and the Buckhannon-Whitworth Middle School are both on schedule to be completed this summer and open for the 2010-2011 school year. We talked with Harry Gill, the Rutherford County Director of Schools, about the need for new schools and what it takes to accommodate the sheer number of students in the county.
We have 43 schools currently in operation. Part of those are two alternative schools and also a kind of an at-risk high school at Holloway. We also have roughly 38,000 students. So as I say, you know, it's a big school system. I think we're the 5th or 6th largest in Tennessee, and it's hard to keep up. Right now in the works is obviously Oakland Middle and Buckhannon-Whitworth Middle School, each of which is about 60% completed. They'll both accommodate up to 1,000 students. The following year we have nothing in the works, but hopefully the year after we'll get a high school on board. We're in pretty dire straits with respect to finding seats at the high school level. Like I say, in 2012, 2013 we'll be opening that high school for 2,000 students, probably at an expense of about $50–55 million.
We're on the Manchester Highway south of Murfreesboro on the old Whitworth farm at the Whitworth-Buckhannon Middle School construction site. We have two new schools, this one, and we have a school over at Oakland, which will be Oakland Middle School. The school is 160,000 square feet. The core capacity is for 1,000 students, and of course we got the same thing over at Oakland, the same building. The site's different. This site also has enough room for a high school on it, and during the planning stages of the site work, we planned for the high school.
With the construction of these two new schools, what techniques were used that weren't used in previous construction projects?
The board made the decision to use geothermal. Of course, that's newer technology in these schools where you circulate a fluid through the ground to take on the temperature of the ground to help heat and cool. You don't use as much electricity and gas to raise that water temperature or lower it to heat or cool the school. We have gone to the metal roof, which gets rid of a lot of the load, but it also has a structural integrity that it needs to withstand the weather in this area. Complete masonry outside and got rid of all the drive-it and those types of finishes. And we believe that we're building a school that'll have, you know, 80 years of longevity to it now on these newer schools. We're very proud of the way that we're building schools, and we are getting some of the best pricing throughout the southeast U.S. And that is because we have a prototype that we are using. We continue to improve it. Our contractors are people who have experience in the school we're building, so therefore we get better pricing in that area. We're decreasing our energy costs. We're putting more money into technology all the time. And we think that not only our schools themselves, but the environment that we're giving our students to learn in makes them competitive with anybody else in the U.S., really.
With the construction of these new schools, what happens with some of the older ones?
A few years ago, 3 or 4 to be exact, we just decided that each time we built a new school that we would piggyback that with a renovation to one of the older schools. And we've been doing that to the tune of about $650,000 per school. We've done, for example, tile work, restroom fixtures, paint work, and other somewhat inexpensive items within those older schools to keep them up to snuff.
We have a central magnet high school that we'll be renovating this summer and in the spring of this year to get ready for that for the upcoming school year. And also we'll be doing some work at McFadden because it's also affected through the zoning of the new middle school.
We do have a lot of older schools in place. You know, we're counting on some of these older ones like the John Colemans, like the Christianas, like the campus schools, like the Central being around for a while. So we do have to maintain them. We do have to baby them, so to speak, and make sure that they're durable for the years to come.
With the building of the new middle school, what happens to some of the K-8 schools?
Those schools will become true elementary schools instead of elementary through middle school.
With most of these schools being transitioned to K-5, they will lose some of their sports, which have been a long-standing tradition in some of the communities.
Basketball's been a piece of cultural history since 1923. We have children here at our school who have grandparents who played for the Blue Devils, and we have grandparents here who want their children to play for the Blue Devils. So I think everyone in the community is a little sad that we're actually losing Blue Devil basketball for right now. But our children aren't going to lose. They're going to go to the new middle schools and they're going to be able to play at Oakland Middle and Whitworth Buchanan Middle, and so there's still going to be sports in the community.
With the constant growth of the county, what will the school system be like down the road?
You know, we don't have a crystal ball with respect to anticipating what's going to grow here, but I do anticipate that this county will continue to grow, given one that I think our school system has a reputation as a good school system. It's an area that attracts jobs. You know, Nashville's close by, so we're in pretty good shape with regards to condition of our existing building. We got a good maintenance program in place, but I foresee additional buildings being needed over time, which will sadly probably increase the debt in the county schools. I foresee us eventually probably gravitating towards maybe the second or third largest system in Tennessee, probably over the next 15 years. The taxpayer gets a little irritated with the school board and probably the director of schools for fighting so hard for new schools, but it's our responsibility to make sure that we got seats for kids and that we have a quality education system, because that probably will drive one of the reputation and success of Rutherford County for years to come.
That was a great topic about some of the new schools being built here in Rutherford County. Let's move on to our next topic and talk about a place here in Rutherford County that has a little different approach to the traditional nursing home model. That place is Community Care of Rutherford County. Here at Community Care, things are done just a little bit different, and to the people who live here, that's a good thing. From dogs and cats to birds and fish, you might not even realize where you are. But for the people who live and work here, it's something quite unique. Mark King, who is a community care administrator, shares with us a little bit about where the facility came from to where it is today.
Going back to its origination in 1827, 1828, the county, in response to a state legislative directive, bought a section of land and started operating a county farm. It was actually across Lytle Creek area, several miles away. And about 25, 30 years later, they moved to another location and were there for about 25 years. And then in 1892, it moved to this site. From 1892 until 1960, It operated as the county farm, had an actual insane asylum section here, and the county workhouse operated off the same farm area for about 35, 40 years up until 1930. In the late 50s, as the national movement was moving toward nursing home medical model concepts, the county commission decided to go that route, and a nursing home was built here in 1960, opened up I think in January of 1961. From 1961 until year 2000, we were a nursing home. I came here in the year 2000, and one of the major changes that we've moved toward is moving from a medical model to a social model of care. The Eden Alternative is one of those ways of moving into culture change. Residents, instead of just receiving treatment, they're engaged in living, trying to have purpose in their life, engaged in the community outside this facility. This nursing home will never reach that destination, because as residents change, as staff change, the family concept will just continue to evolve.
The Eden Alternative is a culture change philosophy, transforming not only the lives of people who live in long-term care, but also the lives of the people who work in long-term care. It is a philosophy based on getting the decision-making as close to those elders living in long-term care as possible.
Eden in itself is actually a global philosophy. It's not just the United States that is looking at those kinds of changes, but also Sweden, Australia, Great Britain. It is a global thing.
I believe that no one wants to put someone in a nursing home, much less some family members. It's hard for people to visit, and it's because it's a sterile institutional model that's based on a hospital setting. And we all know that when people go into hospital, the first thing they want to do is go home. So the reason why we are dedicated to the Eden Alternative philosophy is because we are here creating home. It's as close to home as possible. Some of the things we've been about, I've seen them take risk, want to try things that they typically wouldn't have tried. Residents that got their GED. One of them actually wanted to skydive. And so that kind of mindset of not can we do something, how can we do it? How can we safely try to have them an environment where life is worth living?
The Eden Alternative looks at elders as someone to be respected, someone to be cared about, and a way to give them the best possible care, but let them still be the best possible person they are.
We believe that the bulk of suffering that elders experience is all based on the loneliness, helplessness, and boredom of living in an institutional type setting. So that's why we do what we do. We create a human habitat for people that are living and growing, not just for frail elders, you know, on a decline. We're here to promote the variety and spontaneity that we take for granted, because we have it so embedded in our daily lives that once things are regimented and routine, that we lose that. So the way that we get the variety and spontaneity is through the interactions with the children, with our on-site child daycare. You know, when kids are involved, there's always something spontaneous happening. Spontaneity is something that it's a big component of culture change, specifically the Eden Alternative. You know, you can structure your life into boredom. And so, you know, about half of people's personalities, they don't want things always structured. Systems are structured. Fun's not always structured. We are avid members of the community. We're season ticket holders to MTSU football games. So we've got residents that are on, you know, at the games every time we're home. We took a trip to Florida summer before last. We've gone to Center Hill Dam and rented pontoon boats and gone fishing for the day. And it can be just as simple as the sun coming out and it being a beautiful day and deciding to load up the bus, drive through the country to Bell Buckle and get ice cream cones. That's the variety of life that we're looking for.
Along with the Eden Alternative philosophy, Community Care also offers Generations Connected, an intergenerational daycare and preschool program.
We're an intergenerational program, so our kids have interactions with the residents of CCRC on a daily basis. We do all kinds of fun stuff together. We do arts and crafts, we sing, we dance. It's a mutually beneficial program. The kids get undivided one-on-one attention from adults, and the elders get a reason to get up in the morning, a purpose. They get to teach, they get to share their lives.
That intergenerational thing that used to be so commonplace in America, which is now so fragmented and not so common, Eden and our intergenerational workings with the community really helps develop that, helps keep that going, that continuum.
We have retired school teachers that read to our children. They really like that.
They opened the door and they started to play.
What's your name?
Yeah.
Hey, what's your name? What's your name?
What's my name? My name is Sally.
Sally?
What's your name?
Carmen?
Okay, we're friends now.
We have a gentleman that was a retired auto mechanic that made boxcars with our preschools and raced them. We have a former musician who does a music program with our kids. We use a professional curriculum in our classrooms as well, so our preschoolers are kindergarten ready.
So who in the community is served by this program?
We serve children 6 weeks to 5 years of age, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And our kids are part of the community at large. They are employees' children, and they are family members of our residents.
Okay, now we know a little more about what goes on at Community Care, so what about the facility itself?
It's about 63,000 square feet. It's had three additions since the first building was built in 1961.
Community Care of Rutherford County sits on 22 acres of land, and there are on average 130 residents in the facility.
Consider being a resident here. They need to call us at 893-2624. Ask for Kim Frazier, she's the admissions nurse, or ask for myself, Mark King, and we'll see if we can assist you with that. It's open to the public at large. It's not limited to just elderly. We've had young people that had to be in a nursing home for some period of time. You know, car wrecks happen, events happen in people's lives, and so we're not just limited for the elderly, we're limited for people in need.
Community Care of Rutherford County is actually a self-funded, nonprofit corporation that is controlled by a board of directors appointed by the County Commission. The board, which consists of the county mayor, a county commissioner, and other appointed members, facilitate the lease of the building and grounds, which are owned by the Rutherford County government.
I think we have to look at what's being done, and in many cases it's great, but is it good enough? You know, one of the greatest resources that nursing homes have are resident thoughts, resident memories, resident abilities. And in many cases, we've institutionalized those things because we're doing it for them. And to me, that's not living. And so community care, in my call, is to be a model, not for glory's sake, but I want to model this so that other facilities within our region, within our state, look at this and say, we need to move toward that, because ultimately we're missing out on what residents' wisdom is, what their abilities still are. Instead of how that they can't do something, it's how could they do it. We need to be looking for ways for them to interact with helping raise funds for Katrina relief. We actually did that. Toys for Tots. I mean, there's got to be ways that they are giving of themselves to their world. That's living.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Rutherford County Magazine. I would like to thank everyone who joined us on this episode, and especially you, the viewer, for tuning in. If you would like more information on the Rutherford County government, please visit us online at www.rutherfordcountytn.gov. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you here next time on the Rutherford County Magazine.